If you're a CFO of a growing company, there's one metrics you must track, and most CFOs don't. It's not their fault. It's just that their system doesn't allow for that metrics to be tracked. So this one metrics can help you identify any potential cash flow problems, any issues with audit, any risk of duplicate payments, and so on. So if you are worried about any of these challenges, in this video, I'm going to break down what is that one metrics, why is that important, and how you go about improving that metrics in your company. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Sachin Sharma. I am the founder of Prepare Desk, where we help growing companies with purchasing automation and better spend controls. So let's jump right in. So the metrics is PO compliance rate. So what do I mean by that? In simple terms, it's a measurement of what percentage of your invoices have a purchase order number tracked to that or tagged to that. And the idea is that if the PO number exists, that means that spend has gone through review and approval process. You have looked at, whether it was approved purchase or not, rather than a surprise invoice showing up. So why is that important, right? So let's look at a couple of scenarios here. Number one is, if you don't have your spend under control and you don't have PO numbers, you are always dealing with budget overruns. It's always checking, okay, do we have the budget for this or not, because invoice just showed up, versus having a upfront process which is more proactive and checking whether you have a budget in place or not before you actually make the purchase, right? So that's one of the difference here. Number two is, we see the month-end close process being very long, generally 15 days. And the reason for that is you have invoices coming up, you don't know whether they're approved or not. So you have to route everything for approval. You maybe have a manual process and your AP team is continuously chasing people to get invoices approved. And that slows down the month-end close process, right? Or you're probably doing accruals and things like that. Number three is, you're probably paying like duplicate payments. There's no matching of invoices. So invoice comes in, goes to review, and by mistake, somebody might approve the same invoice twice, right? So if you have this matrix, or you have most of the purchase orders created, it can prevent budget overruns. You can close books faster, and then it prevents any duplicate payments. So how do you go about implementing this in your company? Process is pretty straightforward, right? Number one is, if you have a purchase order process, great, then figure out how do you remove the friction. If you don't, then set up a new process. What do I mean by friction? You can't have a purchase order process where everything needs to go through 5 approvals, because it just slows down the whole process. People start finding workarounds so that they can just go buy what they need to buy without getting an approval. So the idea here is, maybe you want to remove the friction from a process standpoint, make it easy for them to submit a request and then get it routed for approval, and so on. Number two is, just a continuation of the first, is you probably want to set up automated approvals. So maybe anything less than $500 does not need an approval, or maybe just need manager approval, and so on. And as you start looking at more and more you spend, maybe for each individuals, you can control a little bit of what they can buy without just kind of, asking for approval all the time, right? Number three is, build in proactive budget checks. So if you have a purchase order process in place, right? People are creating purchase order. You made it really simple and you remove the friction from the process. The next thing is to tie it to a budget, so that when somebody is trying to create a purchase order, they can actually see whether they have the budget in the for that purchase or not, and whether they can move forward or not. That is the most proactive way I know to control budget and prevent any budget overruns, because you can check it in real time whether you have money left or not before you proceed, right? So if you want to avoid budget overruns, surprise invoices, long month-end close process, improve on this one matrix, which is increase the number of purchase orders, and that improve your overall compliance rate, the PO compliance rate. If you're struggling with any of these challenges, click on the link below to schedule some time with one of our product specialists, and be happy to walk you through how Prepare Desk can help solve these challenges. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.